Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. It's Steelers week. It is now o'clock. Thought that was an appropriate title for today. Last week doesn't matter anymore. The rest of the season's too far away. What can you do this week? Ravens playoff chances, divisional hopes are in the balance this week. It's like a 70-some% chance that they make the playoffs if they win this game. Goes all the way down into 20s if they lose. Same thing for our opponent, our heated divisional rival Steelers. Just a huge game in Baltimore this week. Want to thank everybody so much for joining me. Be in the chat this week. Already see all the friendly faces. John checking in, talking about Mark and his extension. We'll get to that in a minute. My girl Chris in here with the work wifey vibes. Ashley. Love that. Twiz, you're awesome, my brasso. Good seeing you, buddy. And who else do we have? Of course, the Linda J. And TY saying he's going to be in and out of the stream. He's out on the road. All right, keep your eyes upon the road and your hands upon the wheel, like Jim Morrison once said. Jim Morrison, don't know how I feel about him. He beefed with Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and some other people that I knew. I found out later, of course. That was way before my time. Dario checking in, saying good evening. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday weekend. Yeah, as for me, sick as a dog. If you guys caught me on with Simply and Sutton on Monday night and on the Vault Tuesday afternoon, those were the worst of it. I feel like I'm coming out of it tonight. So hopefully I'm more entertaining than I was on those shows. I feel bad for them that I wasn't. And Shang, it's so great to see you checking in. Been wondering about you. Been wondering about Don C too. Hope Don C is okay. But thanks so much for checking in, Jang. Cosmonaut, good evening, football family. Head VP, good to see her. Josiah, all right, we got a full house. This is going to be a really good show and have some good information for you. And it's going to be a great breakdown. J-Dub in the house. Okay. And just getting a text from Debonair Dev, trying to join us tonight. Laid back Big Al, watching on PS5, typing on my phone. Love it, Big Al. Maybe that counts as 2 views, Al. Never know. And we got a super chat from Heather. Let's start with it. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Heather. A lot of people were cooking and watching last week. The views, I was very surprised because during the stream, it was a little bit down, and I understood. It was the night before Thanksgiving. People were cooking and prepping. But by the time the game rolled around, within 24 hours, we had our normal views. So that makes me very, very proud that, the set number of people who always watch the show. And thank you, anybody new checking in. If you saw me on with Simply and Sutton or on with Sarah and Bobby, thanks for coming over. I hope you enjoy the show. I really do. Heather, thanks for the super chat, though. Missed you last week. I think we missed you last week. But happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Heather, too. Sometimes the holidays can be tough, for emotional reasons. So I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad to see you. Love you so much, Heather. Okay, let's get to the first talking point of the night. As John mentioned, Mark Andrews avoids free agency, signs a 3-year, $39 million contract. 26 of it is guaranteed. That will keep him a Baltimore Raven through at least, there's a new feature there where it turns off the thing. All right, so we're going to have to live with that. Keeps him in Baltimore through 2026 and 2027 for sure. 2028, probably Ravens can get out of that contract. But Mark's going to be here. Looks like he is going to try to retire our Ravens. Very Ravens move. Mixed reactions from the flock. Now, for me, I like Mark. I think Mark does a lot for this team as far as the red zone. Shows up in the red zone. That's where I like him. Third downs as well. I think between the 20s, I would like to see a little bit less of Mark, to be honest. Get some more explosive playmakers in there or a better blocker. Go with Ricard or Cole instead of Mark. Get Tez Walker his snaps, that kind of thing between the 20s. But in the red zone, Mark is money, leads the team in touchdowns this year. So I'm always happy that when we sign a good player, I'm a big Isaiah Likely fan, though, to be honest with you. So I was hoping that we would, move on, turn the position over. The draft is chock full of tight ends. Every year they're coming out bigger, better, more advanced. You look at Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Tucker Kraft from a few years ago. You can find a good tight end. That's Dev. Let me know. He's having some Wi-Fi issues. Dev is joining from parts unknown. So hopefully he can come in because I could use him for this show. But I'm curious to see the reaction from the flock on this. Happy to have Mark. Sorry that it seems like we're saying goodbye to Isaiah Likely. Early prediction, and you guys know I've been good with this. By the way, didn't I predict that Emory Jones would make his first appearance during the Cincinnati game? Turned out to be right. Wish that game would have been better so I could have bragged more. But yeah, Mark is definitely helpful for Lamar in the offense. He's got to show up in the postseason. He's got to show up in the postseason, turn that around, turn that narrative around, and show up for this team then. But I'm always happy when we sign good players, but I always have mixed reaction when it means that we're going to lose players because of it. And the Ravens have 20 plus free agents this winter. So there's a lot of holes to fill. A lot of holes to fill. Hey, good to see Tracy. Glad your health has improved. Keep giving us great content. Thank you. Man, I felt really horrible. And, when I went on with, you guys are family, so I'll tell you. But when I went on with Sarah and Bobby, there's a lot of people watching their show, a ton. So I'm going on there, and I was so embarrassed with my performance, quote unquote, or how I did, because I couldn't talk without having to cough. So I'm coughing throughout. I'm like, man, people are watching this during their lunch. Like, mucus, you could hear it in my voice. It was quite embarrassing. So yeah, that was not a fun time. But yeah, Josiah saying not a fan of the signing. Jeremiah saying modest money. Let's try to bring Dev on if I can. Big Al saying he loves it. Josiah Likely is the man. We better not let him walk. Josiah, we're going to let him walk. We're going to let him walk probably now and draft a F position tight end in the future. That's my, somebody who's built like Likely. They're coming out now. That's kind of how I feel. I think we probably offered Likely the money. Reportedly this offseason, he was asking for too much or a lot. The Ravens couldn't come to a deal with him in the offseason. So I think that signaled the end. Like the extension, but I think we spent more than we should on Mark from Zhang. Linda is okay with it. Jeremiah also thinks we keep Likely. And we got Samuel checking in. Now I'm going to try to bring you on in a sec, Dev. Football and the family. Family is football. What up, Jason? So just a simple message from Samuel. Love you, man. Love you. So glad that you're checking in. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. And Wiz, Jason Hush, every feature and collab you're on is heat. I appreciate that. I didn't feel it. I couldn't even watch it and critique myself. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand myself on that one. But yeah, you got to be your own worst critic too, Twiz. But yeah, man, you get the opportunity to go on a show like that and you can't barely speak. I wasn't happy with myself. It wasn't my fault, but I wasn't happy. All right, let's bring him on. Debonair Dev Panchwa from Parts Unknown. Weight unknown too, but I don't need to know your weight. You know how the wrestlers used to get introduced back in the day. What, the missing link, Dev? Wasn't he one? Parts unknown, weight unknown. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Missing link.
Missing link.
Missing link.
I do.
He was the guy that was painted green. He was painted green. He was kind of a heel, kind of like had the George the Animal Steel feel to him, where he's playing the guy who is not in his right mind coming out. That kind of thing.
That was a drawing a blank, but that's a good reference. I'm very impressed. Couple of updates. I apologize. I am in the lounge of where I live, my apartment.
Okay.
It's gonna be an adventure. I was dealing with Wi-Fi issues on the Mac. I'm on my phone and I've got like low battery, so I'm gonna try to. I might have to give you the signal of when this might end before it happens. It happens abruptly to you. Yeah.
If you cut off, it's all good. If you don't say goodbye, you can text me, and everybody can leave you a comment. But we'll be fine, buddy.
I've got some juice, but then I didn't want to chance it, so let's see how far we get.
All right, no problem. Hey,
tech problems, man.
We got our guy Alec in the house too. Hey, look at the lovely people. Yeah, Alec is one of the lovely people. You know what? The people like Alec, and that kind of surprises me. Not a very likable.
That's a low blow.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you do to your friends, Steph. That's what you do to your friends. So yeah,
I
ISO in the
understand that.
house too. What's up? What's up, ISO? All right, let's get to it. Dev, doesn't feel like it, but the Ravens aren't the team that's really reeling here. The Ravens Thanksgiving performance was awful. 5
Yeah.
turnovers, embarrassment to the city of Baltimore, dare I say. But they're 5-1 in their last 6. The Steelers are 2-5 in their last 7 games. Their Fire Tomlin chants broke out. They tried to drown out the Fire Tomlin chants with playing Renegade. The fans booed Renegade. They booed
Yes.
Renegade. Tried to listen to some Steelers content this week. Always like to do some homework. Vibes are terrible. I mean, they're asking TJ Watts, like, I've never seen a team run the same play 26 times
Yeah.
and have success with it. Like, we think we're feeling bad, and fans have a right to feel how they feel. Like, that Bengals performance was awful. But things are actually worse in Pittsburgh, bro.
I know. It's two mirror images, I feel like, with uh, relative, but this fan base, the Steelers fan base, is more. I feel like they're more at that point that they're wits end because the Ravens have had whatever. There's a group of fans that don't agree with me, but they've had recent success, right? However we want to look at it, have they underperformed? Yeah, but they've gotten way closer to the promised land, obviously, than the Steelers have. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game. Uh, when's the last
About
time they won a
10,
playoff game? I think, yeah,
about 10 years. They keep saying it
yeah,
on their podcast. So, yeah,
right. So there you go. And I think uh, understandably they're at that point. And a lot of the decisions they've made has seemed to be just let's try again, let's give it another shot next year. Complacency and all those things have caught up with them. And it used to be, and I know you know this, like back in the early 2000s or so, the Steelers were the gold standard because they were consistent. And then you had like Green Bay was consistent for a while because those franchises tend to, I mean, along with having quarterbacks generally, like those two things go hand in hand. Like you didn't get rid of your coaches, and so the fact that they had Tomlin and Cowher and Tomlin succeeded Cowher and they just had it going for so long. And the Ravens built themselves up to model them, right? And that was who they were
right.
chasing. And now that's now turning into a sour viewpoint, or like kind of like what that how do you define success? And both franchises, I think, are at a crossroads with their fan bases saying, no, this isn't the way that you can change. You should change. And you look at other teams like the Rams or the Eagles that have made, massive changes. So those are some of the things that come to my head. Like you're right. The fan base here can think, or I should see in Baltimore, not here in New York, because that's a whole different story. They got bigger problems here, but you guys should not feel like, oh my God, we have the worst. You don't coming into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, expectations are a B. And for the
Yep.
Baltimore Ravens, the expectations are the Super Bowl, and that's why you're seeing so
Yep.
much apathy from the fan base. The crowd was dead. The crowd left early. I could tell on the 22 when they show the scoreboard. The crowd was rolled out early. It's like, look, this is below acceptable because of the
Yep.
expectations, and then rightfully so. I mean, look, you look around. This was a Super Bowl type year. You look, the Chiefs are down, the Bills are down, AFC is wide open. The Ravens still have a chance if they can just get themselves together. It's just such a frustrating team. But
Hmm.
I'm wondering about this matchup. I want to win the division. I want 3 straight
Hmm.
division titles. I want to see what happens in the playoffs. I want our players to get that experience. I want them to be tested. So when I'm just looking at this week, Dev, it doesn't feel like it, but the Steelers are in much more turmoil than us. They're looking at quarterback purgatory, chanting for the coach to be fired in his own stadium. Not getting enough high enough draft pick, haven't won a playoff
Yeah.
game in 10 years. Don't look now. Doesn't feel like it, but the Ravens are in good shape compared to where the Steelers are. And I think getting a lead in this game early is going to be huge.
I agree. And I think as of late, well, they had the lead against the Bengals 7-3, but it just seems like every game they've had, aside from Miami but yeah, against the Browns, against the Jets, against the Vikings, they had to kind of claw back into those games, short leads and moderate leads, but still leads. But I was rewatching. This wasn't because it just happened to work out. I rewatched the playoff game from last year last night. I know I was going to come on with you and we were going to talk about it, but similarly, they got up 14-0 in that game. The Ravens did, and that just changed the entire complexion of the game. And then the Steelers did score a touchdown, and then the Ravens answered, and they got up 21-7. I don't know if you remember that play, but it was
It was
the
a big
Lamar
play.
escape at the end of the
Yeah.
half, and it was with a couple seconds left, and they scored, and that was the game. And I think similarly, if this game goes to 21-7, I mean, this is a big if because of the way the Ravens offense has been performing, but that could be in any combination, right? Like the Bills got a turnover and they scored a touchdown, and it could be special teams, but whatever combination, I agree. I think that it's going to be difficult for them to rally off the Steelers, that is, just given the energy that they have. And the crowd the home crowd should be able to get into it. And even with the consternation that the Ravens fans have had, I still think they're going to show out for the chance to get the division lead. They know what's at stake, right? So I think early lead is a must. Starting fast, starting crisp is a must. Those slow starts. We
Right.
talked about Monken's, infamous scripting. That's going to have to come up big in this game. Those first, and hopefully goes beyond that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's a chance to really stomp on them while they're kind of down. But we've also seen the side of the Steelers in which they're resilient enough that they can really it's like a nuisance, right? It's like some sort of insect that just keeps buzzing around, and it's like that form of the Steelers could show up. And watching and I'll just wrap on this point. Again, the Ravens have been up 10-0 in these games, and they've been up 13-0 in these games, and then all of a sudden the Steelers come back and they steal the game. So never say never.
So yeah, and the Steelers, by the way, have lost 3 games this year. 3 of their 6 losses have come when they were winning at halftime, including this Sunday versus Buffalo. So
Yeah.
they have this like where the Steelers are okay with their opening script, but they have to script, and they're a very limited offense like last year, where it's all short passes to the sideline. There's not a lot of downfield stuff. They're
Yeah.
asking Aaron Rodgers if he's afraid to throw it over the middle of the field, and it just has to do with their weapons. There's just a lack of weapons. It's a tight end centric offense. DK Metcalf is
Yeah.
not George Pickens. It's just a different feel. So the divisional here details, Dev. Just a quick response on this, but the Ravens have had the advantage in the schedule for a long time. And in fact, they used it to their advantage to catch the Steelers, who were once 4-1. But now, when you look at it down the stretch, the Ravens have a little bit tougher path. Both teams only have 2 home games left with the 3 road games. And the Steelers, the best team they play are the Lions, who are sitting at 7-5. Ravens still have the Patriots and Packers. So my point is, for a long time, it's like the Ravens have the easier path. The Ravens have the easier path. Well, not anymore. The Steelers have a little bit easier path. And if don't look now, if the Bengals can pull the upset of the Bills, they're going to be on this graphic next week, Dev. Um, just kind of a crazy turn of events. The Ravens have to, what this tells me, the Ravens have to take care of business the next 2 weeks, starting with this game, though, crucial game.
Yeah, and I think, Jason, it goes beyond, in my opinion, I think it goes beyond getting, you have to win the game, yes. But this game, if they're going to do anything in the postseason, if they get to the postseason, if they're going to do anything in the next 5 games to, let's say, win 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, which is what they would need to, some of these different different scenarios, right, that we're seeing, they have to play much better football. Like, forget everything else. Like, I think there's, aside from the 3 units, I think special teams is good. Like, they're playing pretty well. Defense has gotten better. But they've got to play all 3 sides have got to play well. Do they have to play at the highest of heights that they've been the last couple of years? Maybe not. That might not be necessary with the schedule left, but they have to play reasonably well. Not just to win this game, but I think just to get in the flow, right? Like
Right.
outside of, and I think they need to stop. And I don't know what's going on in that locker room. And you can't worry enough. You can't worry about whatever was the preseason hype at this point. Like you're here. You're at 6-6. You have a chance to win the division, like you said. Everything's still there. They get the 4 seed. They could even get the 3 seed if some things break right. And you can get that home game, and you can right the ship now. And I think that's what I'm looking at is like, and I don't know if they have the capability of doing the things that I just described, but they have to play good football. And like you said, the schedule being harder might be better, like in a way. It's like, all right, can't mess around now. You can't have the game you had against the Browns and the Jets
It's
and
crazy, man. It's
get those
crazy.
wins.
And yeah, it's what I say. Well, if the Ravens win, according to the odds, they have 70 some percent chance of winning the division and making the playoffs. If the Steelers win, same thing. But man, the way both of these teams are playing, that 20% or 30% seems like a 50%. Like you just don't know what's happening with these two teams. So it's pretty crazy. There was a lot of comments earlier, Dev, on Mark in his contract, and I gave my opinion. I always like signing good players, useful players. Mark Andrews, I like him in the red zone. I like him in third down. I think he's a good weapon for this team. I want to see kind of less of him in between the 20s. And it kind of makes me bummed out because I think this means that Likely's gone. They're not going to invest all that at the tight end position, in my opinion. I'm a big Likely fan. But people were weighing in on the comments, and I didn't get your opinion on it. So Mark
Yeah.
Andrews signing for about $13 million a year. It's a 2-year contract. Basically, what it looks like to me is like a 2-year, $10 million a year type contract.
I didn't get too far into the, and I apologize. I think you said you were under the weather. I've been fighting a cough, so I'm a complete mess today. So I apologize for the the group that's on this stream. They're probably like, "What's up with this guy?" Um, so I'm coughing, but I'm gonna try to mute. Um, I didn't look into the actual breakdown of the structure of the deal, so I appreciate that. If it's more like a 2-year deal, setup wise, then yeah, I think a couple things come to mind. To your point, I agree. I don't think you keep Likely and Mark. There's no chance of that because you'd be putting way too much capital into the tight end position. But I think
Right.
my suspicion is that, and we've heard some rumblings earlier in the offseason that they were negotiating with Likely. There was, I guess, rumblings that that's who they were trying to keep, and and somewhere along the lines it fell apart, and he was asking for, I think some of the numbers that were put out there were like 16 million per year or in that range. I think that was Jeremy Fowler that said that from ESPN, but it obviously got to a point where they just were way far apart, and I think they kept at it, probably on both sides, and they made the deal with Mark. And if, to your point, it's a friendly, I mean, if it's a team-friendly deal, then I think it makes sense. It gives them the latitude to do other things. And let's be honest, like as much as I like Likely, and I think the investment would have made a lot of sense because he's younger and there's upside, but he just hasn't played well this year. And I know some of that is rooted to the foot injury, but in a contract year, you can't have the types of I guess you can't have the setbacks he's had and then still ask for the same kind of contract. And then you're gonna go, all right, well, and despite everything that's gone on with Mark, we can go down the list, right? Car accident last year, he came back from that, and then he's been known, of course, to be dealing with diabetes, but that's kind of like already been part of his story. But despite some of the things he's gone through, I guess the adversity, he's still pretty reliable, right? Like this year, he's had some key games. He's not the same guy. I get it, and I know the drops are a concern in the postseason, but beyond that, like I think it's reasonable that they struck this deal, and the terms and the structure make a lot of sense to me as well.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know. What do you
mean,
think, though?
I just think that it's okay if they keep being aggressive. Like we're gonna have to beef up the offensive line. Probably, veteran would be nice to bring in to go along with Emery. Who knows what happens with Linderbaum? Edge rusher. we're going to need to replace Van Noy, Jabo, and get a real game wrecker in here. So as long as we're paying where we need to pay, then having
Right.
Mark Andrews too is good with me. And I think we've seen them toy with void gears and other things to get more aggressive instead of just restructuring dudes and be tied to guys forever. So I'm cool with it in a vacuum, but I don't, like I said, I would have liked to sign Likely. That was my thing. He's young.
Yeah.
He's good off schedule with Lamar. Has a good chemistry with Lamar. Um, and I wonder if they said, "Hey, Isaiah, uh, you turned down our $16 million in August, or you turned down our $13 million year deal in August. Are you willing to take it now?" Maybe Likely said no, and they said, "All right, we'll give
That's
that 13 million a year to Mark."
that's my that's also what I believe happened. It's also something they've done forever, right? Like Ozzy used to have a couple deals on the table. They wouldn't. They just said, "All right, go do what you need to do." And they may change the terms or not, but like I think it's business. This is a business move to me. This is, and I know sometimes from a football perspective, it can be frustrating. But and I agree with you. I like Likely. I like Likely's talent. And I before all this went down, I actually thought Likely was the guy that they were wanting to keep. It made sense, right? He's younger. There's that upside, the chemistry with Lamar. It all made sense. But I think this is negotiations. This is trying to figure out roster construction. And I agree with you. If the extra amount of money that they would have put towards Likely, and also, by the way, like you don't know what you're getting with Likely once he gets his deal. I mean, I think that's fair to say. You know what with Mark, he's gone through now a couple of contract extensions, so he has performed commensurate with that money. And that's always going to be something in the back of a GM or even an owner's mind, right? But like I think now, yeah, what do you do with that money? Does it open up some flexibility elsewhere? And let's not forget Lamar and Andrews, they've got a kinship that goes back to their rookie years. Like I think he would have been good with Likely too. It's just that I think it's like cherry on top of the sundae. Like,
Yeah,
all right, so
yeah.
add
I'm
Andrews in the
glad we're on the
fold.
same page, though. I feel like they budgeted 13 a mil for a tight end, and it was just like if
Yeah,
Likely wouldn't take it, they gave it to Mark. It just wouldn't
that's all I
surprise me.
think it is.
Sometimes it seems too simple, but I believe this. Now, Ashley weighed in earlier. She has a question, and I started. So here we go. Do we think our Darius Washington plays this weekend? So, um, the injury report. Let's get into it, Dev. Darius Washington back at practice, uh, Tavius Robinson back at practice. And then the thing that really shocked me, I don't know if you saw it, Dev, but when Harbaugh was asked, he said, there is a chance Ardarius could play this week. Possible, not
Yeah,
probable. That's a quote, bro. That is a quote. Like I typed it out. Tavius was not this week. But Ardarius Washington, coming off what many of us thought was a season-ending injury, uh, blown Achilles, already out practicing, and maybe a possibility he plays this week. Possible, not probable. Tavius not this week. To get back to Ashley's comment, though, I don't think he plays this week. Ashley, I don't. I think it's probably too soon for Ardarius. But it's just such a great sign to me, Dev, that that's even a possibility. And Harbaugh even said that, brought it up when
hmm
asked. So that's my two answers. One, no, I don't think he plays this week. I think that's pushing it. But two, oh man, it's just great that that's even a consideration. Him and Tavius getting close.
I agree. I think he doesn't play. I'm with you on that. It's it is stunning, given the nature of that injury. I mean, it's the most serious football injury you could have, especially at that position when your Achilles is so critical to being able to push off and get explosion, right? Like DBs have to move laterally, they got to move. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but knowing that you're a DB, right? So like you know all about the movements. Um, so that's shocking to me. I am very, but one thing about Harbaugh that we know is he's usually conservative by nature with these forecasts, right? Like he's kind of like he won't put it out there with such I feel like this level of not maybe not optimism is not the right word, but like it's a positive outlook
Yeah,
from him.
because he's bringing on more questions. Like if he doesn't play this week, then it's going to be the same question next
Yeah,
week. So you're better
sure.
off just saying, look, when he's ready to play, he'll play. We'll
Yep,
have an
that's
update
usually how
when
you
we're ready
handle
to give
it.
it. Right.
Yeah. Tavius, I'm surprised that they were also well, maybe not because they just started practicing. So I think I was thinking he made more sense to me if he was to play this week. Although I think still too soon. So again, you have 5 games left, and all five you're probably in. You're probably not out of it unless, barring they lose like 2, 3 games in a row, which I don't see happening, right? So like you're gonna have these guys in the fold. They do, and I tweeted this out earlier today, I think, but they add an edge to the defense, both players. They're both physical. Washington plays with a certain aggressiveness. Like he rallies the ball. Again, getting back to that playoff game last year's game, like he was all over the field. He was a
Yeah.
huge presence in that game. He laid out, what was it, Fryermuth on the sideline. Like they rallied to the ball on the sideline. And I know he obviously made the fumble. He made the strip fumble of Wilson in the regular season game. So like he's capable of really adding that juice. And then Latavius, man, he just gives you again another rotational player. He helps with snaps, but then he's so good against the run. He does the dirty work. And I think maybe this is a stretch, but some of the creative things they're doing with the D tackle position and lack of depth, they could continue to do that with using him. I know they're using Jones inside to put his hand down, but theoretically you could do some of that with Tavius as well.
And
So I think it's
and
just
Dev,
adds a
yeah,
lot.
it's great. I mean, a cut up I just did on the channel. Thanks for all the support on it. Was of Carl Lawson, who got activated
Yep.
instead of a Jabo, and basically those guys are being used for the most part, Dev, on your running downs. The
Yeah.
other team comes out with a fullback or two tight ends, some kind of heavier package, and it's been Mike Green and a Jabo setting the edge. So Tavius is going to help in that just right away. And then also with Lawson, like Tavius is by no means, you're not going to mix him up with a diverse pass rusher with a diverse skill set or great bend or anything like that. But Tavius will definitely give you more than the pass rush than I've seen from either a Jabo at this stage in his career or Carl Lawson at his stage of his career. The fans were not happy with what they saw. The commenters in that video not happy what they saw with from Carl Lawson. So Tavius will help a lot. But in general, for this Ravens injury report, just going off of it, Dev, we transition into it now. The Ravens are pretty much healthy. I think it was a really positive sign that Nate Wiggins was back in a limited fashion today. That extra 3 days rest
Oh
is
yeah.
benefiting the Ravens over the Steelers at this point. The Steelers, by the way, played 74 snaps on defense versus the Bills. So the Steelers defense dead tired, suffering injuries of their own, whereas the Ravens look pretty much at full speed. You had Lamar limited, Wiggins limited, everybody else a
Mhm.
full go. The Steelers to transition into it, they're missing, first of all, who's not listed here, their left tackle, Broderick Jones, on IR. So
Yep.
they don't have their left
Yep.
tackle. Derek Harmon, stud first round pick, who has helped them tremendously on defense, is not going to play this week. He's already been ruled out, did not practice. Former Raven Patrick Queen left that Bills game with a bruise. They're calling it a glute, somewhere around his hip, his butt. Got hit really, really hard. And we know PQ doesn't miss a lot of practices. I can't recall him ever like skipping out on practices or anything like that. So it must be pretty bad if PQ can't play and didn't finish
Mhm.
that game. And then again, their second outside corner, James Pierre is in concussion protocol. He was able to practice limited, but you know how those things go, Dev. There's a good chance that he would not be cleared from Sunday by Sunday. So the Steelers are dealing with some stuff. The Ravens look pretty clean. Long intro
Mhm.
there, Dev. A lot to pick up on, but you see it on the screen right there.
Yeah. No, it's great where the Ravens are at from an injury perspective. And with Wiggins, I was optimistic when Harbaugh said it was day to day, and fact that he's practicing, I think he will play. And it was in my head at least, and you never want to think to yourself like, all right, we could go one game without a player, those types of deals, right? Because you just
Mhm.
never know. Like you can't take any games for granted, at least especially at this point. But my feeling was he absolutely though needs to be right for the Bengals game in theory because you're gonna have Higgins back, and so I think in that game, no doubt the type of team you're playing, like the Steelers, just don't have the same threat level like we talked about it, you talked about it at the top, right? Like they're just not going to present that same threat level, but you just don't want to take it for granted. And I think with Nate on the field, the difference is so massive now. Like he is really ascending. And in the
Yeah.
second half of that game, it's not an excuse. Like part of me, I gave the nod. I definitely gave nod and deference to Burrow. I think it started clicking for him. He started seeing things. It took him a half to figure it out, and then I think he started figuring out the rush scheme. But it sure does help not having to face Wiggins, who's like so good in terms of
Yeah.
like
Wiggins made a
it was
bunch
just
of plays. Yeah.
in the
Wiggins was
first,
making a
yeah,
bunch of plays. And he made it
yeah,
tough on Chase. Even when Chase got him, it was off schedule plays, and Nate was making life a I mean,
yep,
I wrote it down. Cincinnati was 1 of 6 in the red zone. Nate had a lot to do with that. He had a pass
yep.
breakup, I think, on Josephus in the end zone. And Burrow, 83.7 quarterback rating, 22 incompletions for Burrow that the
Mm.
Ravens forced. But like you said, after Nate went out the game, things kind of went to crap.
Yeah, and he's a competitor. He got beat by Chase, and then I think you had it as you didn't have it as Chase. I thought it was Chase in the red zone, but maybe I was wrong.
Maybe it was. Yeah.
Either way, that and what they can and we've talked about this on your show, which is that uh, in terms of the alignment things that they can do because Nate's playing so well at corner, it changes the entire spectrum. But all that's to say, yeah, if they have him, the defense is going to be that much more difficult to move the football on, and it's huge. But I think the other thing to take out of the injury report is Lamar practicing on a Wednesday. We haven't had that consistently, and I made a comment. This wasn't like on mine; it was offline to someone. Just the fact that I do think some of the things that we're seeing with him are linked to practice time. Not all the way, but I think there's something to be said about getting all your reps and being sharp, right? And all week long, you get to ever practice, and so I think that's big. I think him being at the Wednesday practice, maybe I'm making too much out of it, but I think it's a big deal personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of split on that. Like, I've seen Lamar come out week 1 after not playing the preseason and look sharp, but then again, he's practicing on that Wednesday with the game plan and the receivers and all that other stuff. So I see kind of both parts of it. I posted a clip on Twitter of Derrick Henry not trusting his O-line and being rushed and
Yep,
having
I saw
messing with
that.
his head. I think the same thing's happening with Lamar. Like Ronnie Stanley's getting pushed, like bullied nearly every pass rush rep right into Lamar's
Yep.
back. So I think it's affecting Lamar's mechanics. I kind of think that it's a mix of everything, but I don't think Wednesday's practice has affected him as much as the inconsistencies in the offensive line. That's kind of my own personal philosophy. So Dev, next up, brother, next up, we are rolling. One thing I want to talk about real quick. Steelers had a lot of personal fouls against the Bills. I didn't count. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 post snap infractions of them
Yeah.
going back and forth. Cam Hayward saying Josh Allen need him. This Steelers team, which has lost 5 out of its last 7 games, and everybody's getting hammered. The media is hammering them. They're kind of losing their cool. And I think it's important in this game that the Ravens come out and play with emotion, but I also want to see them control their emotions. So before we get into the X's and O's, I had that up as a topic bar that I wanted to bring up. Play control your emotions. Let's not turn this
Yeah.
into the Chiefs game from a couple of years ago.
Well, flip it on them, right? They're the team coming in, they're frustrated. They have been getting, like you said, it seemed as though the Bills got under their skin. And the thing is, the Steelers' mentality It's very similar to the Ravens. Like if they're not the team that's bullying or in control and pushing and imposing their will, uh, it eats away at eats away at them, right? Like it definitely can affect them and their psyche. So I tend to agree. If this is a teapot that's about to like explode, right? Just kind of coming into this game, like you said, and managing your emotions is going to be massive, especially because in this rivalry, it's been the Ravens that have lost their composure. It's been the Ravens that have done silly things, penalties, just boneheaded turnovers. They have not played as crisp, and the Steelers have kind of induced that or gotten into their head. So I feel like this is a great opportunity to flip that script, to come
Right.
in, play clean, as everything we've talked about, right? Like everything goes hand in hand. Coming in sharp, you had a couple extra days. The Steelers are beat up. It's really set up well for the Ravens to try and take that will out of them from the beginning, and then you can see how they might react from there. And they may still respond well. I wouldn't like this is going to be a 4-quarter game I mean, unless it's like 35-7, which it's not going to happen. Like it's
Yeah.
the game will still be decided in the fourth quarter, I think. But yeah, I agree that there's a great opportunity from a mental perspective. What mental warfare? We talk about that. And Kansas City is a good example of where they can get inside the opponent's heads. Like it's typically the Ravens that lose their heads, and I think the Steelers could be on the verge themselves, which is interesting because guys like Cam Hayward don't lose their cool, right? Like we've never seen that.
They're
TJ
mad, dude.
Watt,
Like I
yeah.
guarantee you, we start running the ball down their throat like the Bills did and out
Mhm.
manlying them, and they start pointing fingers. It's going to be much the same thing. I mean, you got this ain't going to make people happy. Romo and Jim Nance on the call. It's a 4 o'clock game. It's on everybody's TVs. The loser of this game is going to get hammered. They're going to get written off. So yeah, I can really see the emotions coming into play. Any final thoughts on
Yeah.
that, Dev?
No, I think you summed it up. It's always an emotional game. It's a rivalry that has that in it. And despite the fact that it's just not the same as it was in those 2010s and those years, and going back even further, like still has that characteristic. So whichever team is more composed, and look, my only wrap up on it is for the Ravens' sake. Um, you gotta at some point, like again, if you want to accomplish the things that you are looking to accomplish, if you still believe we can get in the dance, we can take these other teams. There's nobody out there that we can't beat. You need to start with the clean game at home, precise against your biggest rival, and prove
Right.
something.
So there you go. And I saw Ashley mention this too. So it's tying us right in. Good transition there, Dev. Stating the obvious, the Steelers, 22 takeaways on the season. They've only played 12 games, so Steelers are averaging almost 2 takeaways a game. That is second in the NFL, by the way. Ravens, five, 5 turnovers versus the Bengals. Um, the Steelers, we'll see
Yeah.
in their numbers coming up. The only reason their numbers are as good as they are on defense is because of the turnovers. The Ravens with their turnover issues. This is stating the obvious, Dev, but it needs to be a talking point before we even dig into the numbers here.
Yeah, I think it's a huge aspect of this rivalry because, as I mentioned, in the games that the Ravens have lost, where they were without a doubt winning every other category in between the lines, right? Like the game that I'm talking, like the 2023 game, I rewatched it in Pittsburgh, and that game, the only reason they lost is because of the turnovers. Like they were doing whatever they wanted to, moving the football, and Lamar was razor sharp. They had drops, they had a number of things, but it's just always been the story in these games. And then the Ravens have kind of flipped it the other way. They didn't get the turnover in the playoff game, but they got them in the regular season game, which won the division essentially. So I think that the turnovers have come the last couple of weeks when you talk about the Browns game, the Bengals game. So they do have to clean that up, and it's imperative, I think, at this point that they've got to secure the ball. because and the other side of that is Jason. Like I think the Steelers really aren't capable. If it's an even game, if it's if it's plus or even in the Ravens' favor on the turnover side, that they're not going to win that game. They have to get it to be a minus to have a shot, and they know that. They know it. It's that whole, you know, Tomlin promotes when they play the Ravens to get almost like to muck up the game.
Muck up the game and wait till they fold. Right. That's
Yep.
but ironically that's been what the Steelers have been doing, blowing these second half leads. All right, Dev. So it's time to everybody's favorite, the in-depth preview. And of course, StreamYard does that, and I don't know why they do that. And we're going to take our lovely comments off. If you'd like to get your comment read, if I miss it, a little super chat maybe appreciated there. Yeah, I thought it was a 4 o'clock game. I thought Romo Nance at 4 o'clock. I thought for
Yeah,
sure
that
they
was the
said
one o'clock.
now it's a
I
1 o'clock
was
game.
well, I was almost having to second guess myself when I heard you because I have to be in Jersey, potentially have to be in Jersey like at 11 o'clock, and I was like, I don't know if that's I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back in time. Then when you said 4, I'm like, oh, that would work, but we'll see. But no, it's a 1 o'clock. It's weird. I think, and the slate is like crazy.
What I
Like
don't
this,
like. I wouldn't have made that up if I didn't really genuinely thought I heard it. Like Steelers
it makes
Ravens is
sense on
usually one
paper
o'clock.
because it's a Romo and Nance calling game, but
They said
for
it,
whatever
dude. They
reason,
said they were calling the game. Like that. So all right. So
they're calling the
maybe there
game.
was some
It's just a
confusion.
1 o'clock game. That's what it
Oh,
is.
that's
Yeah.
probably what messed me up then. All right.
Yeah.
Mystery solved. Brain fart over here from Jason. So
Oh, it's okay.
Ravens 6-6, Steelers 6-6. Dev, I believe he said he watched that last meeting between the Ravens and Steelers, the wild card, January 11th of this year in Baltimore. Ravens 28, Steelers 14. And the Steelers team we're talking about, they just gave up the most rushing yards in the franchise's history at Heinz
Yes.
Field. Still call it Heinz Field. In that wild card game, Dev, the Ravens had 50 rush attempts. Not 10, not 15, 50 for 299. Take it away, Dev, as I cough.
Yeah, there you go. It's a coughing fest between the two of us. Yeah, it was the exact blueprint that you would want. What they did and how they ran the ball. And the interesting thing is when you look back at that game, and I was just kind of taking a note of the nuances of some of the play calling, right? Like they had a wildcat play where Henry caught when Henry received a shotgun snap, and then they had a jet sweep. That jet sweep action, I think it was when they didn't have Zeg. So they had I forget the guy they picked up, but they picked
It
up
was,
somebody
yeah,
like
the
off the
punter,
street.
Steven Sims.
The
Steven
punt return,
Sims.
Sims, yeah, and they had him motion, if I'm not mistaken, and then that created a lane for Derrick Henry. Like he went, I mean, he just had a lot of chunk plays, and he had the touchdown run, and Lamar was able to do what he wanted. They just had him on the ropes, like from the first snap on, and it set the tone. And then there's a lot. And the interesting thing, and if you look at, we talked about Harmon's out. We talked about this game where the Bills really just ran the ball down their throat and did that knowing that that the best avenue would be that, right? Like I think with Josh Allen throwing that early pick and the game being so, it was obvious the Bills with their two tackles out were going to have a tough time dropping back and throwing the football against the Steelers.
Right.
So they just didn't bother. And when is the last time that you've heard of a team coming into forget into Pittsburgh? I mean, it could be anywhere. It could have been in Buffalo, but like just the idea that they could say, you know what, we're just going to hand the ball off every time. It's similar to what we're talking about with the Ravens and the 50 attempts, right? But like I think that one is a little bit more like you could kind of understand that to some extent because it's Lamar and it's Derrick Henry and they're just like so incredibly explosive. I don't know. To me, it was just I think it would be
Yeah,
it
it
would
was
be wishful
embarrassing. Like
thinking.
it was embarrassing for that Steelers team because, like you said, Allen throws the early pick. They obviously can't block Alex Highsmith or T.J. Watt, and it's
Yeah,
just like our only hope is to run the ball and then to run the same play when the Steelers like.
but it's like,
I don't
but why?
understand.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Like I was just going to end with I don't understand what Joey Porter kept crashing down and leaving the edge exposed. Like he's never contained and forced to run back inside in his life, like son of a player. You know what I mean? It was just amazing.
I think it just got to them, and football is that way. Like, it tests your manhood, it tests your mental toughness and fortitude. And as you know, because you've played football, I haven't actually played the game like at that level, right? I admire it though, in the sense that you probably start to do things that are intuitively wrong, right? Because of all these factors, like the physicality and just what another team wants to do to impose their will. And I think that's part of it. And I do think the Ravens have the components to do some of that. I just don't think the offensive line and and what they have done all year adds up to what the Bills could do. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't just grind them down. Like what I'd like go back to that Browns game a couple weeks back. There was nothing fancy about that game, but the Ravens kept at it, and eventually they got the 50-yard run from Henry, right? And
Right.
eventually, and I tweeted this out earlier, Jason. I don't know if you agree, but this is to me also a big Keaton Mitchell game. Like I need to see a lot of Keaton Mitchell
Need
in
to.
this game, because if you're not going to physically just blow them off the ball and just do what the Bills did, then you have to hit them with speed, and you're going to have to hit them with, like you said, the integrity of keeping their edge integrity and like things like that. And I think Derrick Henry just doesn't do it at the same level that Keaton does at this point. Like, it's just from the
Well, yeah,
perimeter
to me, it's
and
just
different areas.
schematic. It's just schematic and discipline. And Keaton can make you pay for being
Yep.
undisciplined and crashing in on the A gap. Team after team is just basically shooting the A gap on us, taking away any kind of up the middle run. And, the Steelers are
Yep.
crashing in from all angles. Keaton is the style of back to make you pay for that. Derrick
Well,
Henry is not a scat back.
and I think you pointed it out in your breakdowns of the plays, where you said if this one, it was the play where you pointed out where Derek could have taken it up. I think it was the C gap, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was
But he
actually
went
the B
behind the
gap. It was
center.
a
Was it the
it
B
was a
gap? It was the B
duo.
gap. Sorry,
Yeah.
it was the
Yeah,
B
it was a
gap.
duo. Basically,
Yeah,
Linderbaum and Faalele push the defensive tackle. Roger kicks out, and there's a gap there, and Derrick Henry just kind of buried his head and ran up the back, like literally hit Faalele
yep,
in the back instead of cutting.
yeah,
And against this Steelers team, which is lacking discipline in the run game, remember they struggled with that last year in the playoffs. PQ and a bunch of the guys following Lamar when Derek had the ball.
yep.
So yeah, I kind of want to see more Keaton in this game stylistically against an undisciplined defense, because if they're all just going to bum rush the A gap and B gap, Keaton can bounce it and house that thing.
Yep. That's the key. And I know you pointed that out, which is that if you're going to do what Derek, or like if you aren't going to follow your gaps or the hole precisely, is there an opportunity to bounce it outside? And I think they're going to need some of that. And I think what you said, just spot on. Like when they were following Lamar, when they lost their discipline, they have to get some of that going again. Like they're just going to have to um, eye candy, misdirection, motion, movement. Like, they have to get something going
And
again
I
with
think they
that, and
can
I
do
feel
it.
like it's
I think they
lacking.
can do it. J Dub's bringing this
Mhm.
up. I don't know about triple options, but it seems to me, Dev, that the read option is back in play for the Ravens. They went to it a couple of times when I was on with Sarah and Bobby looking at Emory Jones's performance. There was actually a play, and I was studying, pointing out what Emory was doing on the snap. But it was a read option. The defensive end stayed or crashed on Henry. Excuse me. The defensive end stayed on Lamar, and Lamar kept it anyway. It was a bad read by Lamar.
Yeah, I
Lamar
remember that
Lamar
one.
got the first down. Lamar got the first down. It was like a 2 or 3 yard gain, but Henry would have been off to the races. So teams are starting to respect Lamar's mobility. Lamar looks more mobile. If you remember the play, Dev, where Lamar was able to escape the pocket, roll right, hit Zay Flowers, bounced
Yep.
off Zay's
Oh, I
chest.
remember that one.
Uh,
Yep.
right. So I think that the read option, though, going back to Jeremiah's point, is back in effect. And, let's make the Steelers defend all kinds of different runs, because they're undisciplined at it. They're undisciplined. So
No.
if we can use
Yep.
deception to our advantage, we have got to do it in this matchup, whether it's Keaton Mitchell or Derrick Henry. You see, by the way, the yards per carry, Keaton Mitchell up to 6.1 yards per carry, 25 rushes, 153 yards. Derrick Henry approaching the 200 carry mark. Dev, what stands out to me is Bateman's lack of involvement. He has 16 catches on the year. 5 of them came against the Detroit Lions. So basically a third of his production, a third of his catches, a third of his yards, pretty much, came against the Lions in one game. I feel like if the Steelers are going to blitz, bring the pressure, can we please get Bateman involved?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Bate. It's been head scratching. I know last year he was a big play guy for them. And you just have to adjust. Like you said, the big part of his game is getting off the line quickly, slants, and just we talked about it. I think the last time I was on the stream with you, this was
Yeah.
weeks back, and it was
Blitz beaters.
blitz beaters.
Yeah.
Just he is great for what you need actually in a lot of ways because right now they're struggling with beating man-to-man coverage. I think there's something to that though in terms of like the route like how they're setting up their routes. I made a note this week. I haven't seen as many bunch 3-by-1 stuff that they used
Okay.
last year, and I think really to their advantage. And I could be wrong. I don't have the data in front of me or anything, so it's just more of a eye test. I agree.
I'm kind of
with
optimistic here, Dev, because with Lamar being healthy, I mean, this was the number one team versus the blitz, the number one quarterback against the blitz when he was healthy. And I think teams took advantage of Lamar being banged up, wanted to blitz him more, show him some more. And I don't think we always have the answers because it's more than just making a miraculous play. A lot of times Lamar can drift back and buy himself an extra half second to find somebody. Doesn't have to be this miraculous highlight reel play by Lamar, just the subtle things he's able to do with his movements to buy himself a second and beat the blitz that other quarterbacks can't, the arm angles and all the dynamic stuff Lamar can do. Like, I would love to see them. If they try to blitz us, I want to burn them badly to scare other teams off of it. And Bateman should be a part of that, in my opinion.
I agree. You have guys that if they miss a tackle, they could take it to the house. And again, can you set up some stuff for the same players we talked about, like with Keaton and his speed? And there's blitz breakers on this team, and I think it's just a matter of one of the things. Then I know you and I we tweeted back and forth on about offensively the rhythm and the flow and how they're calling plays. Like I think they took a lot of shots against the Bengals on first down, and if I'm not mistaken, like most of them didn't work. So that that basically automatically puts you at 2nd and 10. And from there, I just didn't think any of that was conducive to like what they need to build towards. You have to, of course, stress the defense. There's no doubt about it. Like, and I think that I liked the plays to Tez Walker down the sideline, like those routes and the.
But to your point, Dev, I think we ran 13 plays in the second quarter and threw 12 out of 13 times. And Harbaugh kind of skirted the question. Right.
It was totally, he did. It was like the Chiefs game all over again. It's like we weren't in position. We had too many 2-minute offense situations. I'm like, you can't run the ball. Like you can't get a draw in there. Like it's beyond, but that's aside. I'm not going to even get into that. But just first down, let's take first down apart. Like what you said, you could make them pay, but do you have to do it in a way that compromises both Lamar and the offensive line? I don't think you have to. Like, and their under center play action game is, and I tweeted this out as well. It's third in according to PFF in efficiency productivity. Like, why not just ride that out? Like you could. It's an natural first down play action, and also connected to this. Well, not connected, but the Steelers are really bad with covering the middle of the field. So everything that we're talking about, Bateman over the middle, crossers, in breaking routes, mesh stuff, you could do all of that. And
it could all be there, right?
There's no need for these deep drops to take the shots down the field to start. I think you got to work your way towards that, or do it in other better advantageous like down and distance situations. So I'm with you, and I think there's a way to do it while also not compromise, like not putting them in a situation where they're already behind the 8 ball and they'll probably end up in a 3rd and long.
So for the Steelers on their side, Aaron Rodgers, you can see his completion percentage is under 2/3, right around 66% completions, which is not terrible. 7 interceptions, very on Aaron Rodgers like. It's just kind of a sign of his age, in my opinion. The number that sticks out is the 6.7 yards per attempt, and this is something that the Steelers local media and everybody is complaining about. Same as last year when we played them with Russell Wilson. It's just a lot of short stuff to the sideline, a lot of first
Yeah.
read type stuff. Have to
Yep.
roll them out of the pocket to extend anything. Um, Really, the Steelers' two main weapons, DK Metcalf aside, would be their running backs, Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell, tough looking player to me, by the way, Dev. Like Jalen Warren gets the majority of the carries, as you can see. But Gainwell, they like to use him in the pass game. They like to use him in the goal line. You can see Gainwell, 44 catches on the year, 2 touchdowns there, another 3 on the ground. So really a big game to stop like the tight ends, the running backs, the short stuff. Come up and
Yes.
tackle is what I'm
Yep.
saying. Come up and be physical and tackle because this is a physical Steelers team. You have to match their physicality on both sides of the ball.
It's interesting when you look at the defensive turnaround for the Ravens and you go back to that, of all things, you go back to the Rams game. And I thought there are things that you look at and you say, yeah, Devontae Adams dropped like 3 or 4 balls, and I get it. Like they could have had way more production. But if you look at that game, what stood out to me was what you just said, running to the ball and tackling. Like they hadn't really been doing that up until that point. It was just so soft and like so easy for people to complete balls and then see it go to 10 yards just like without any. It's like pitch and catch in practice, right? And ever since that game, I feel like they are playing with that mentality. Even this Thursday Thanksgiving game, like I thought they did a good job of rallying to the ball. They didn't give up crazy yak in the open field at all. It was there was throws that Burrow made that like I was like, wow, that was a precise throw. Like he threaded the needle. It had to be thrown exactly where he threw it, and he's kind of one of only, I don't know, a handful of quarterbacks that can make that type of throw. So I think all that's to say, it is going to the short stuff. They've been doing a reasonable job rallying to the ball, tackling. You see, Roquan has been way better. I think of just again getting to the open field, getting through the open field, making the play on the ball, containing the yak, and I can see that playing out. Again, I don't see any reason not that it wouldn't. The
Yeah.
stuff that you just got to watch out for is, like you said, the way they use their backs on screens, things like that. And
Yeah.
Rodgers, it's interesting. I think he's holding like it's that old quarterback syndrome where I think he's holding the ball a lot, and like just kind of unsure
I
of
don't know.
himself. And
I
I
think he
think it's
wants to
just a
get
lot
rid
of
of it.
that.
I don't think he wants to get hit, Dev. Like, but I don't think he wants to
Yeah.
get hit at all. I see a lot of quick stuff, short
Or the
stuff, kind of like
checkdowns. Yeah.
Russell
So
Wilson.
so
Yeah.
the, I think that, and I probably didn't do a good job of like to that point. It's like I think that he wants to get rid of the ball. And when you take a step back and you look at, like, I don't want to hold on to the ball. Like I don't want to hold on to the ball to take those deep shots right now. Like he has no interest in that. Um, so, and I mean, maybe I can't
Especially
blame him
now
all the way.
with
Yeah.
cracked wrist that he's playing through and the nose
Oh,
getting
that's
all
another.
bloody. Yeah,
Sure.
dude. Like he don't want to get hit. I almost wonder. We'll get to the defensive side of the ball soon. But if he's like if we even need to blitz this game, like they're
No, that's
missing
that's
their
the
leg tackle. If they're going to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds, let's just rally and tackle these fools and we'll hit Rodgers as we go. But yeah,
yep.
getting into Jason's question, what happened to the slants? That's what I'm wondering. The only ones I've seen, Jason, have been to DeAndre Hopkins, and he's had some success on the slant passes. But that's where Bateman can eat. We need Bateman to come alive, Jason. That's
He
my 2
hasn't
cents on
been.
that.
He is not. I don't know what routes he's running. Like a lot of the stuff that he's so good at, again, are those overs, right? And over the middle and being able to clear out and find some space. So they need Bateman badly. They definitely need Bateman
That's right.
because fundamentally right now, like one of their big problems is that guys aren't getting open. Like if you look at, there was times in that Bengals game where it wasn't I think the line actually, and this might be, like they have that, what's that, not a gift, but like the meme where the guy's got his hand up. I think the line actually played okay. Like I think the pass pro was okay. I'm not saying it was great. Not saying it was but it wasn't functionally fine. I think there was times though receivers really weren't getting open against the Bengals DBs. And that's got to change big time if
Big
they have
time.
any hope to do anything in the next 5 weeks. They're playing better like New England, Green Bay, but yeah, even the Steelers could come alive just because they might have the confidence that we can cover their receivers, right? So then it's our pass rush getting home, which we you don't want to be in that position because they are capable of doing that. So
Yeah, I'm going to back
they
you
need
up
to,
on this. I didn't
yeah.
see Bateman open a lot on any
Mhm.
routes. It was pretty well covered. The Bengals had DJ Turner, who on the show last week, Dev, I was talking about how good of a year he's had.
He's
So
he's playing really well. Yeah.
DJ Turner took away Zay Flowers, and no one else was really
Yep.
getting open except for Isaiah Likely. Isaiah was getting
Yep.
his separation and
The
got
tight ends
targeted.
are getting open. You're
So the tight
100%
ends were
right.
getting open, but we need, and D Hop's not going to separate. That's just not his game. He doesn't have that ability anymore. He was never a big separator in the first place. So yeah, it was kind of like the pass plays were there to be had. Lamar missed a few, but the receivers weren't getting open consistently. Of course, when Zay got called for the push offs, it was just, dude, like last week was just a nightmare game. When I look
Yeah.
at the stats for this, Dev, you can see how much takeaways are carrying this Pittsburgh Steelers defense and sacks. So yards allowed, they're 28th. Path yards allowed, they're 28th. They're giving up a ton of yards. Are they good against the run? Not really, especially not last week. We just talked about how awful they were against the run, especially without Derek Harmon in the game. They're allowing teams to move the ball on them. 28th on third down as a defense are the Pittsburgh Steelers. So how are they maintaining? Well, they're second in the league with 22 takeaways, and they're sixth in the
Hmm.
league with 34 sacks. So, and you look at
Same
the
thing. Yeah.
Ravens. You look at the Ravens; they're in the red in both categories. Ravens turn the ball over too much, are taking too many sacks. So that's where, I mean, the numbers right here. This pretty much spells it out, Dev. If we take care of the ball and protect our
Hmm.
quarterback, we're winning this game easily. The
I
Steelers are.
think so.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, buddy.
sorry. I think you spelled it all out. And that's just it. Like the way they approached the Minnesota game, the way they approached the Browns game, and the way they approached the Jets game, I kind of think that's the way they need to not fully, right? Like I think they also knew those teams had limitations at quarterback so that they could you could probably get away with being even more conservative than they need to be. But I don't even think it's about that. I think it's, if you just don't want to overthink this game. Like you don't have to, based on the ineptness of that offense on the other side of the ball. And I'd be shocked like if the defense didn't play a reasonably good game because they played a reasonably good game against the Bengals with a better quarterback, right? Even though he's coming off of a toe injury, but like you just have, you have Chase, you have Burrow. That's enough. So I think there should be enough confidence from Monken to say to do the things we talked about, like come out with a quick game, give Lamar some quick. Here's another thing to think about, and I thought about last couple of weeks. Make it easy for Lamar and Derrick Henry, like some quick wins. Like they got that play action pass. That was like one of my favorite play calls all season against the Jets. Play action under center. I think they came out of the half, hit Henry over the middle. They had Ricard release. So they both released at the same time, Henry and Ricard. It was like almost a functional screen, right? Because you have Henry and then Ricard just goes out and blocks in front of him. Easy layup throws. Get Lamar in rhythm. Stop trying to get big plays. And I think grind them down and let them input it. I think you play their game against them, which is what they like to play. Like they like to play that game where like we're in the game, we're in the game, we're in the game, and you're going to make a mistake, and we're just going to capitalize. And I think there's no, to your point, I think there's no reason. I'll just say this too. I actually think Lamar is very close. I think he's very close, um, health wise, physically. He looked about as good as he's looked all year against the Bengals,
Yep.
except for the perimeter speed. It's like the only thing where you're like, okay, he's not quite there yet. But like to your point, he escaped on the likely throw. He looked good. So if in theory give him a couple more days of rest and he's practicing on a Wednesday, I just don't see unless they really self-sabotage. They're capable of self-sabotaging themselves. We know that. But this has to be a just reasonable game plan, and I think they'll get it done. Don't turn the
Yeah.
ball over. Don't make it easy for like you said, the Steelers thrive off that pass rush, getting in third downs. And that's how we've seen them they beat what was it, New England that way. They beat the Colts that way too, right? So that's those games are like prime examples of when they're able to win without having to do
Yeah.
anything on offense.
And I think what you're saying is tying into Jwiz here. But like last week, it was obvious that Lamar was a little off. I think his pocket presence. I think Lamar's a little shell shocked is the word I used. Just because he's it's almost like he's a batter in baseball. Made the analogy. The pitcher's throwing 100 and some miles an hour, so he's got to sit on it. And so when he gets a pitch he can handle, he's almost surprised. And he's in that bad habit. Like he's sitting on fastball and, so he's not ready for the off speed pitch. Lamar's not ready
That's
for a
good,
clean pocket. Lamar's not
Yeah,
ready for everything to be right. Clean pocket, everybody open. We've got to scheme those open for him. And I think it's affected Lamar mentally. The mechanics, this Dwiz is saying, pocket presence. Like I'm noticing all those things too. And I think that ties into what you're saying, Dev. Give him some bunnies early. Give him some easy ones. Get the run game going. And, like I said, the Steelers defense can be had. You just got to protect the ball. The Steelers, though,
yeah.
the other advantage they have in this matchup, Dev, the Ravens famously struggling in the red zone. Can't call a basic run play and get yards on it. Score, cash in the red zone. Steelers are actually 10th in red zone defense. So that's another advantage for the Steelers is they tighten up a bend but don't break type squad for Tomlin.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that, but that has been a huge part of why the Ravens have struggled in games recently, right? And if they didn't play the teams they played, they probably lose those games if they're playing better teams. And so that red zone offense has been putrid, if I can get the word out. Um, and the Steelers could get some energy from that, get some stops in the red area, hold them to field goals. You can't have that. I think I've said this, and I don't know what you think based on the things that you've seen on film. I just don't think Monk. I just think they've lacked some creativity in the red zone that they had the last couple of seasons, and it could be as easy as, well, hey, Lamar's not healthy, possible, but I just haven't seen as much of the movement stuff, um, misdirection stuff. And when they've run it, they've had, I mean, like they had to play against the Bears, I think it was, where we talk about Keaton Mitchell, right? They had Henry and Mitchell in the backfield at the same time. They handed the ball off to Keaton on a jet sweep, and Keaton almost scored. I think he was like at the 1 yard line. I just would like to see a little bit more of that, not like goofy stuff like where you have Henry, he's capable of doing this, but not having him throw for a touchdown on a rollout. I'm just on like they do a lot of weird things in the red area. That's
Yeah.
like, why are they doing that versus just
Well,
figuring
I
out a
haven't
creative way to get their playmakers the ball?
I have an answer for that. My answer for that is there is not one or two staple run plays that we can run, and we don't have the offensive line. We have a very an offensive line that doesn't move people off the ball. You're talking about Ronnie, Roger.
Yeah,
Lele doesn't explode off the line. He's very slow to get started. Voorhees, the weakest man who's ever led the league in bench presses coming out the combine. Basically, it's like we could basically run inside zone or power or just a regular A gap dive with Ricard leading in and be able to get 2 yards. And
that's
or
for
if it's
sure. Yeah.
If it's first and goal from the 6, we could call one of our staple run plays. Next thing you know, it's second and goal from the 2. And so I think that what you're seeing is a lot early on. Remember, why aren't you giving the ball to Derrick Henry on the goal line? Why aren't you giving the ball to Derrick Henry on the goal line? I bet you John Harbaugh asked Todd, why aren't we giving the ball to Derrick Henry on the goal line? Todd probably said, we're not moving people, John. If I call our
Oh,
staple run play, it's going to get blown up. So what did you end up seeing, Dev? A bunch of Derrick Henry running into the back of folks for like a month.
yes.
We could not score a touchdown, and now Todd's having to do all this weird stuff.
The weird stuff. Well, I shouldn't say the weird stuff is okay. It's not. I'm tired of rollouts that cut off half the field. I'd like to see some level of imagination. I'm all for that. If you're saying I can't win playing basic power, that is fair. That is totally fair at this point. Even the tough, I mean, even the tush push play that they ran that they won again, they won the game on against the Browns. I was like, well, that's something. That's something
Yeah,
different, like outside of the zone of like, all right, we're just gonna pound. Well, they can't pound people. We know that. It sucks. It's unfortunate. It's a huge
that's why Lamar's
flaw.
health is a big deal to me, Dev. Like if the read
Yeah.
option is back into effect, it changes this whole season.
Now he has ability to threaten defenses on the edge, will loosen up the middle. It's just what we talked about from the get-go. Like the A gaps, teams are just they are shooting the A gaps and they're daring him and or something to hit them on the perimeter. So I just getting in a long-winded kind of roundabout way. If the Steelers do get some wins in the red zone, yeah, I think that will affect things. But I still think you stay the course, right? Like I don't think like they're just gonna have to be prepared to win the same way that they won against the Vikings, the same way that they won against the Browns. Like if you have to kick 4 field goals, you gotta kick 4 field goals. Like they need to just stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about this offense right now. Like for a second, it's just kind of like, all right, like yeah, we got to get our act together, but you also don't want to self implode against a team that thrives on other teams making mistakes. That's just
Gotcha.
how they
So
win
stay
games.
composed. Stay
Stay
composed.
composed. Like you kick the field goals if you need to. Like don't get sucked into, in my opinion. Like don't get sucked into. Okay, like now we've kicked 2 field goals to start the game. Like oh, like here we go. We can't score in the red zone. I don't think that's gonna. They're just gonna play into the hands. And you look at the Bills. I don't think they scored one touchdown and a defensive. One of them was a defensive turnover. And then they had one other from Josh Allen. I think was a well. They had 2 runs, right? So I think they had 26 points in that game. It wasn't like crazy.
No, no. It was basically a grind them out. The quick game. It went quick. The
It was a
clock didn't
grinded
stop
out
running.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, clock didn't stop running in that game hardly at all. It was just run,
Yeah.
run, 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 run. So speaking of run, I got Derrick Henry highlighted. Looking for a big game for Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. That's why I was going to highlight the running back position in this game. Can the Ravens come close to duplicating what the Bills did? And even if your answer is no, because I don't expect the Ravens to just run all over the Steelers. I expect them to come a little more competitive, a little more prepared for the division rival Ravens. We got to have that balance, Dev. We got to have that balance to open up the pass game. So the running backs are
Yeah.
important to me. On the Steelers side, I have highlighted Joey Porter, by far their best corner. James Pierre, their other corner in concussion protocol, even though he's a limited practice. Brandon Eccles, I believe his first name is Brandon Eccles, is a nice player, but again, that's not a stud slot corner. You got Patrick Queen not practicing due to a pretty bad bruise in his butt/hip area. He's questionable. As we mentioned, Derek Harmon is out for this game. So, obvious, I think I'll start with TJ Watt versus Roger Rosengarten. Roger did pretty darn well against Watt last year. Of course, he's going to get some chip help, but that's the Steelers' best chance to disrupt this game is their edge players have Rosengarten and TJ Watt highlighted.
Yeah, I would think so. Those are their best players. We talked about the pass rush, and we talked about that they don't need to commit numbers to rush the passer. So that's the other thing. Like they can do it without blitzing. They can protect their secondary that way. So it's but I think what's encouraging, I mean, it's the Bengals. Maybe it's twofold. Like the Bengals pass rush isn't anything special, especially without Hendrickson. But they did okay on the edges. Like the tackles played very well, like Ronnie and Rosengarten. In terms of like, so that's encouraging coming into this game. I think Rodgers had an up and down season, but he has success against Watt, so that's something to potentially look at. But you still want to get into that situation where you are having to drop back enough times that those guys can ruin the game. So I would think, um, despite the fact that they have done well, like they did last year, they did well in pass pro against the Steelers in those last two games. So it's not like they don't have the ability to replicate that, but you don't feel too good about it based on their performance all season, right? So I think
Right.
that's an advantage for the Steelers, this even with Watt being not the same TJ Watt as he has been a couple years
Yeah,
ago,
they're
but
saying he's
but
lost a step
it's
up
just
there. Like, yeah,
yeah, and I think that's fair. But he's still capable of like because he's again he's crafty enough, so he's good. He can make a play, and then I think Highsmith's he's electric. Like he's a really good player. So um, yeah, I would think that's a key for the Ravens, and again, this gets back to the quick game. It gets back to like, and here's the thing. I think that getting back to your original question of like, can they do what they did with against the Bills? No, but like, can they get the running backs to combine for a certain amount of yardage and be big impact of have a huge impact in the game? They can.
right.
Like in the passing game, like why not get those guys involved? Like we've seen now multiple weeks where Derrick Henry has made big plays in the running, sorry, in the passing game, just catching the ball over the middle and then just going off for like 30 yards. So 20,
And
30
and
yards,
dude,
whatever, chunk plays.
if by the way, if Queen misses this game, Malik Harrison is his backup. You want to talk about testing the edges,
Oh
testing the
boy.
pass game. He
Yeah.
had big time issues. Like Malik Harrison was part of that collapse by the Steelers' rush defense last week. And yes,
Yeah.
Jalen
So
Ramsey,
then
big
that's the
out. Ramsey is a safety. Is a safety.
yeah, he plays free. I think he's playing free safety for them, right? So
Yep.
no, that's a good point about Harrison. And again, I think it gets back to the Steelers are not good defending the middle of the field. Now you could attack that in a number of different ways. If you're in bigger packages, you have your card on the field, you can do that again. You can do that with Derrick Henry a little bit more than we give it credit for. You can do that with your tight ends. And then if you want to get back to what we talked about with Bateman and the receivers, like so, there's a number of ways they could create matchup disadvantages against the Steelers over the middle, and not have to go to the point of exposing their pass protection, which is the other side of the coin.
Exactly.
Like other people have to spread the field and then leave the line one on one. Like I don't think they have to. I think they could keep Ricard in the chip, and I think you can keep the integrity of the pass protection. You can run a short game and quick game and still hit them with daggers. And hopefully you see enough of those turn into bigger plays. I think that's the other side of this, which is like,
Yeah.
can the
And
Steelers tackle well enough?
that's why I have Porter highlighted here, Dev, because if we do have to keep more people in to block, like you're saying, would you say the integrity of the pass rush? The Steelers stress you with their front four, and they can play a lot of people in coverage. Well, it's going to be important for Zay Flowers to win his matchups with Porter, to for
Yeah.
Bateman to win his matchups against what may be a third string
Yeah.
cornerback, likely to
Yep.
win his matchup. So yeah, if the Steelers can rush with four and we have to keep more people in to protect, it's going to be important for our targets to win their matchups.
Which is all the more reason why the run game and that underneath passing game has to come through. And one of the things that I noted in the first quarter, I think it was, of the game against Cincinnati, flat routes, wide open. They were just hitting them. And then I don't know what happened. It went to hell. But it was like easy. It was just like drop like the completion in Keaton was on the sideline. It was a flat route. Like just again, it frustrates me. I think the biggest frustration I have with this team is when they just don't take what's right there for them. Like they tend to want haymakers when you're perfectly fine using your jab and just wearing that opponent out. And that could be this game. That could be this game against the Steelers. It could be that they could just have to live in jab city until they're ready for the knockout. I think back to again that Browns game, they kind of dealt with it, and then eventually Henry hit him. Henry hit him with the 50-yard run. And I think that's what you're looking at in this game, unless the Steelers defense melts down, continue, and that could happen too. That meltdown could be a carryover from the Buffalo game. But I think they'll hang in there. You just got to hang in there too.
So Dev, I see his comments along a lot. Easy E is in the house, answering questions. Yes, Ramsey is his safety. Jeremiah with the bunny rolling down the street in my in my RPO. So I've got to show
nice.
Easy E. I've got to show Easy E this, and we're gonna go to this shot here. This is for you, Easy.
Oh, that's good. Look at that. You're ready.
Yes, my son painted this for me. That is a hand-painted Easy E portrait. That's my favorite Easy E picture. So yes, he's got the chrome to the side of his White Sox hat. We want Easy. Yes. So Easy E, longtime commentator on my videos, and I love it. Yep, I finally got my artist son to paint this for me a couple of years ago. It's very close by here in the basement. So I'm very proud to show that to you, Mr. Easy E. But yeah, the E with the criminal behavior. Yeah, I'm a gangster, but still I got flavor. Mr. Easy E, Dev Panchwa.
There you go. I'm full of surprises. Although I'm a fan of Pro and
Dev, you're cutting out on me a little bit. You're a fan of what or who? Crap, we're losing Dev. Dev, we're losing you, buddy. Okay, Dev's going to try to come back in. Yeah, Easy E took us out. Maybe that was Big Bad Chad again. We don't know. And yeah, I know, Tether, I've got to find a distributor for these T-shirts. But yeah, the Huddle It Up Film shirts are coming. That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll flip it over to the other side of the ball. Now get some stuff going here. Okay, Ravens defense against Steelers offense. Again, some juxtaposed. What's the word? Juxtaposed. Excuse me. Categories in here. Steelers high in sacks. They have protected Aaron Rodgers very well. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to get rid of the ball. I don't think he wants to get hit. So the Steelers are top 10 in least sacks allowed. The Ravens, of course, 29th in sacks, only 19 sacks on the season. They have come alive in the second part or the middle of the season, but it's still kind of slow. And we're getting Dev's update here now. Must not be enough for the video. So Dev, we love you, brother, and I appreciate Dev Panchwa. Everybody send your love to Dev. Follow him on Twitter if you can't find. He's not on YouTube. If you're on Twitter or X, find Dev over there. Appreciate all his input. And you got to see the Easy. You got to see the Easy poster. A lot of great thoughts for Dev. But we'll take us home here. So the Steelers offense, total yards, not a lot. Yards per pass, not a lot. Rush yards, 28th. So how are they 15th in scoring? Well, we saw it on the other side of the ball. Their defense is creating mad turnovers and is getting their offense the ball back, getting their offense the ball on short field, and then Aaron Rodgers doing his part. The Steelers are 5th best offense in the red zone. So for all the limitations that the Steelers have, when they do get in the red zone, They're having trouble moving the ball, but when they do get in the red zone, they are fifth best, cashing in over 65% of their red zone trips for touchdowns. This Ravens defense, don't look now. They held Cincy for 1 of 6 in the red zone. So the Ravens defense is sixth best in the red zone at a 53.1 rate. So strength on strength there. We saw the Steelers on defense have a very good red zone team. On offense, they have a very good red zone team. So that's going to be a key to this game. Ravens defense otherwise pulled themselves out of the red in a lot of categories. Third down defense looks very good. The red zone defense looks very good. Slipped a little bit in points allowed, but overall on the upswing for this Ravens team. And the Steelers just very Jekyll and Hyde. A lot of trouble moving the ball, but when they get in the red zone, they cash in, and they're not taking sacks. Jason Z, I see a long comment here, and for those that don't know, Zaratniak also has followed the Packers for a long time. So I want to read this. As someone who has watched Rodgers for years, the key to disrupting him is pressure up the middle, inside, blitzes, and such. Draymond, Rowe, Buchanan should eat. Okay. So he's not using the middle of the field anyway. Reporters keep asking him if he's afraid to use the middle of the field. Why aren't they using the middle of the field? So, Jason, just building on this point, if they're not throwing to the middle of the field, maybe you use one of those linebackers to blitz. Maybe that's how you generate some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, get somebody in his face. He doesn't want to get hit. He's playing with a cracked wrist. I kind of like that. I kind of like that philosophy a lot from you, Jason. Thank you very much. So let's take a look at some of the matchups on that side of the ball. I have Kyle Hamilton highlighted. Now, last week was kind of a quiet game for Kyle Hamilton. It was clear his right foot was taped up pretty good. We saw him turn that right ankle in the previous game versus the Jets. So he wasn't as impactful. Still a solid performance from Kyle. Wasn't any giant mistakes. He did give up the touchdown in the back of the end zone, which was a big play in that game. But look for Kyle to be more healthy this week. And something tells me, I almost wonder, it's going to be a big tackling game in this team because this Pittsburgh offense uses 3 tight ends. And I could have included any 2 in this, but I went with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. They also have the massive Darnell Washington, the size of an offensive tackle, 6'7" reference right here. Although I think he is 6'8", and honestly looks well over 300 pounds. The big tight end. So tackling is going to be key. Almost makes me wonder, would Hamilton be back more effective in this game in his strong safety spot and just rallying and tackling? Do we really need him blitzing off the edge as much against a guy who wants to get rid of the ball quickly? Should we just have Hamilton back at strong safety? A little less Alohi Gilman in this game. Maybe play somebody like a Awuzie, or move Marlon back to the slot, put Awuzie on the field, and just go with a bigger, more physical lineup to tackle these Pittsburgh Steelers. Kind of wondering, throwing that out there. I doubt it happens. I mean, Kyle has found his home in the slot. Aaron Rodgers in this press conference was talking about you have to find Kyle Hamilton on this field. But that was an outside the box idea I had. Is maybe Kyle Hamilton is the kind of game style matchup where the Steelers want to throw the ball to big people in the short area and let them run with it. Maybe we need Kyle to rally, come up, rally, and tackle instead of hulking around the line of scrimmage. Of course, Kyle around the line of scrimmage would really help in the run game. So I can see it both ways there. Just an outside the box idea. For the Steelers, they are on their backup left tackle. Anderson is in the game. Calvin Anderson will be playing for Broderick Jones in this game. So can Mike Green get some quick pressures over there? Will Draymond see some action over there? Kyle Van Noy, we could really use to get home and to test that backup left tackle. Steelers across the middle of the line, a lot of good young players. Troy Fontano, first-round pick. Mason McCormick, excellent in his, second year now. Zach Frazier, a good player. We all know about Suamalo, good player. So testing their left tackle, if we could get some pressure from that area, that would be huge for the Ravens. Yeah, rushing from the edge does take too long when he plays the quick game. I think like an inside spin move from Mike Green, that little Euro step he takes to the inside, or anything he can do to get Rodgers' attention quickly will help, though, just to disrupt him. Teddy Buchanan, big game for Teddy. Now, we've seen Teddy be in the mix for a lot of turnovers. Like, Marlon strips him. It's Teddy all over the defender. Big hit. Loie Gilman gets a strip and a run back. Nate Wiggins, we have seen Teddy being in the middle of all that, whether he's credited for the forced fumble or not. So this is a big game for Teddy to come up and try to tackle Darnell Washington, who, again, is not on the screen, to tackle Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, when Metcalf's on his side, to come up and stop Metcalf. A game of physicality plays into Teddy Buchanan's hand. Jaylen Warren, not easy to bring down. Gainwell kind of scares me in this matchup. They like Kenneth Gainwell, and he's been very productive for them. More productive than Warren, honestly. But Warren is their guy, bowling ball of a running back. So the Steelers last week was 166 total yards of offense. That was the fewest in the Tomlin era. Part of the reason these fans are booing, chanting Fire Tomlin, booing Renegade, they just watched a performance in which their offense could only muster 166 total yards, not 166 passing, 166 pass, rush, everything. 166 total yards against Buffalo, which, by the way, Buffalo doesn't have a really strong defense. Steelers couldn't do anything with them. Steelers are also last in the league in time of possession. So they're having a hard time holding on to the ball. Again, this Steelers offense is extremely limited. This is a game in which the Ravens could really eat. I'm looking for them to be aggressive, to play with a chip, and to really take control of this game. Okay, guys, so a long episode tonight. So we'll get into the score predictions. We'll also get into what Vegas is saying about this matchup. And I'm kind of fading, to be honest. You can hear my voice cracking up. Okay, here we go. Score predictions. Type them in if you would like. I'm feeling a 20-13 Ravens win. Very low scoring. 20-13 is my prediction. What does Vegas say? Ravens are a 6-point favorite. Adds up to about 24-18. That's what Vegas is saying. Again, I'll go 20-13. I think the Steelers are going to have trouble moving the ball. I think they get into scoring position 3 times. Tomlin is not afraid to kick field goals. Very conservative. Of course, they have Chris Boswell. So I don't see them pushing the envelope and going for it if the game is within reach at all. So I'll say Steelers have 3 drives, which they get close to scoring. Maybe all of them are red zone drives. Maybe one's a long field goal for Boswell. 1 touchdown, 2 field goals, 13 points for Pittsburgh. And the Ravens get to 20 points. So that will be my prediction on the score. And as far as a bold prediction, Ashley, hope you're still around. Rashad Bateman leads the Ravens in receptions and yards. I'm hoping that we make the adjustment. I'm going to predict that we make the adjustment. You got Joey Porter Jr. is going to be all over Zay Flowers. Steelers could be a backup cornerback on the other side. They're in such bad shape that they signed Darius Slay. Got Darius Slay in the building this week. So James Pierre may or may not play at the other cornerback position. It's time for Bateman to start winning his routes, get the ball. Bateman only 16 catches for 194 yards in the total season, and 5 catches and 63 yards came in that Detroit game. So unbelievable. He's played 10 games. And aside from 1 game, he's only got 11 catches for like 131 yards. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I'm going to predict it. I'm going to say Bateman has, maybe he goes for 5 for 78, and that leads the team in both categories. Okay, and yeah, Heather has to cover her eyes. Score prediction is not her thing. So yeah, Heather, sorry about that. Okay, Linda J. First in, 24-6 for Linda J. Would love that. A convincing win would do a lot for this team and its confidence, its playoff chances. Got a rematch against the Bengals. Got to go to Cincinnati. Again, a lot of road games coming up now. I mean, after this game at home against the Steelers, excuse me, 3 of our last 4 games are on the road, so we could use a convincing victory. Jeremiah, same thing, a get right game for J Dub, 35-6. Sorotniak, no score prediction, counting on 4 sacks on Rodgers. I respect that. Switch it up. Coming off a loss, Jay-Z. Coming off a loss. We've got to switch it up. Justin, 24-16 Ravens. That's close to Vegas, Justin. That's close to the Vegas line. Ashley, along the same page, 28-13. Our guy, Samuel Moore. Thanks for the super chat, Samuel. Appreciate that. 26-13 Ravens. Ashley, I'm glad you stuck around for my bold prediction. Yep, it's going to happen, Ashley. I'm feeling it. I'm manifesting it. It's been too long. Hopefully, Bate, the 10 days off did him well, coming back from that injury. Lamar's practicing again with Bateman, so the timing and all the chemistry they need are there. Hey, it's time to expose the Steelers cornerback number 2 and get Bateman back in the end zone. He was such a good red zone weapon for us last year. We need to get back to that. Heather calling for 2 Mark Andrews touchdowns. He's got the bag. Also a possible D-Hop touchdown. All right, Heather, so you're getting into it a little bit. I appreciate that. Yeah, celebrate Mark Andrews' new contract with a 2 spot. Lamar, of course, only 1 touchdown pass in the last month. That was 1 in Minnesota to Mark Andrews. So we got to get out of it. We got to shake out of it. Time for the Ravens to get back into form. Samuel coming back in, 2 takeaways and 4 sacks. All right, man, that would be great. This is the kind of team we can do it against. Now Rodgers hasn't taken many sacks. Not holding the ball, so maybe 4 sacks would be a revelation in this game because they are protecting him. And yes, they also brought in Asante Samuel Jr. So it's kind of crazy happenings. Lamar making a touchdown in this game. It's about time. Oh, and Talal from Egypt. Probably like 5:30 in the morning over there, 6:30 in the morning. Good morning from Egypt, 24-19. Thank you, Talal. I appreciate you. And I saw you on Twitter, and I believe I followed you back. Okay, so that is it. We have heard from the crew. See Mr. James in here. Mr. James, not happy. I guess it doesn't bother anybody that was supposed to be a so-called Super Bowl contender, and we haven't dominated weaker teams. No, that's true. I'm bothered, but really bothered, disappointed. I was really high on this team, as you guys know, coming into the year. But it's still right there for us. So I'm not going to not watch. I'm not going to just watch the game. My expectations are lowered. It bothers me, but I'm not going to live in that world. I just got to, for me personally, I'm looking forward to these Steelers games. You only get 17 weeks guaranteed of football every year. So, yeah, big game. Let's get our stuff together, Mr. James, because when I look at the AFC and I look at the Daniel Joneses and the Trevor Lawrences and the Bo Nixes that right now are in first place, I'll take Lamar, Demetrius Jackson any day over those guys. And we have the talent. We can just get our crap together. That's what we need to do. So I'm with you, Mr. James, but I'm not giving up. Yeah, watch him with no expectations, right? Just watch and enjoy football and be pleasantly surprised. Maybe that's my anxiety or not being optimistic. But yeah, I just try to watch and enjoy it. And Tila, glad of you to join us. Wiz was holding it down. So yeah. So with that, I want to say thank you to my football family. Love my football family. Getting tough for me around here. I need to rehydrate and get back to bed soon. Your boy is struggling over here. But I thank you guys so much. Thank you to Dev Panchwa, Devonair Deb, for joining us tonight. Love that guy. Make sure you give him support Feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. Subscribe. I'm trying to get up to 5,000 subscribers, so please subscribe and like the video as well. Always forget to say that. But with that, I will say thank you to everybody. Thank you to my football family. Love y'all. We'll catch you next time.